Hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Makeda Valletta, also known as the Renaissance Amazon. And I'm live on my IG right now on my page at the _Renaissance Amazon _81. I'm going to repost this onto my YouTube page, the Renaissance Amazon. So if you follow me in one place and not the other, be sure to follow me in both places. This video is going to be quick because I need to get to the gym because it closes at... Oh, wait a minute. Darn it. I missed the gym. The gym closes at 2. I'm thinking it's 12:30. It's 1:30. Damn it. I missed the gym. Okay. Well, I was trying to hurry up so I could get to the gym, but that's not going to happen. Anyhow, so today is the fake holiday of Thanksgiving, and I couldn't let this day go by without speaking my piece, okay? For those of you who follow me, you know that I'm into history. You know I'm into the truth. You know I'm not afraid of walking in my truth. And for those of you who don't know me, I am an Afro-Indigenous woman, Afro-Seminole woman from Harlem, New York City. My roots are from Florida and Pennsylvania, okay? And, you know, I grew up celebrating Thanksgiving with my family. And I remember when I was like in college, like learning about the real history of the holiday, and it brought me to tears, okay? And I've always been somebody who thought for myself and walk my own path. I've never been a follower. I've never felt like I need to do these things to fit in, okay? Never been that kind of person. That's why even in college, I was online for a sorority for 1 week, and I was like, nah, I'm too strong for this. I don't want to be a part of any organization so bad that I'm going to do all this dumb shit and get abused to be a part of a group. That's not me, okay? And I was raised to believe what makes sense to me. Now, I come from a family of freedom fighters. You know, my dad was heavily involved in the civil rights movement, a professor of Afro-American studies, and he's from Florida, St. Augustine, which has a very strong Afro-Seminole history. But he said that in the 60s, when he went to a Native American reservation, and I think it was in like Montana or something, that's what really set him off with the U.S. government. He was already pissed off being a black man from the South. My dad is 78 years old. So he grew up in the segregated South, so he was already pissed about that. But when he saw the Native American reservations, it really set him off, right, with the U.S. government. So for me, you know, learning about the true history of this, I couldn't justify celebrating it. So there were a couple of years that I kind of stayed away from my family, but it felt, you know, I kind of felt like I should go because I want to appease my family, you know. They expect me to be there. I grew up celebrating it, so I was conflicted with that and doing what I felt was right, because I feel like a lot of people just do things out of convenience, like I said. And with Black Americans, I really feel like shame on you for just blindly celebrating it and saying, oh, I'm only in it for the food, or I'm only in it because that's when all my family has off, right? That's not true. Your family has off on Memorial Day, on Labor Day. Labor Day is a holiday we should all be celebrating. Veterans Day. There's a lot of other times in the year where you could have a big feast. And if you must, you know, if people are that committed, I feel like at least spend the day acknowledging the history, leave a plate for the ancestors of those who were slain, acknowledge that history, teach the truth, speak about the truth, and recognize it as a day of mourning. And because like the whole giving thanks thing is not at all what the holiday was about. That's not even at all what happened. And when I was in college, I learned the history. And every single year since then, I always like watch a video or read some things about the true history of Thanksgiving, and there's always pieces of it, more pieces of the puzzle that come into play. It's not just one story. It's really an amalgamation of various stories, various historical events that happened in New York, in Virginia, in Massachusetts, okay? It has to do with various presidents, George Washington, Lincoln, and I think Roosevelt. I forget who the third one is. And it has nothing at all to do, and it was also a celebration of a massacre of the Pequot Indians. So it wasn't, even when they said Thanksgiving, it wasn't about giving thanks at all. It was about, they were thankful of all the Native Americans that they slain. They came in the middle of the night while people were peacefully sleeping. They had come for their green corn ceremony. We all have Native Americans to thank for corn. okay? And I love corn. I love grits. I love cornbread. I love tortillas. I love tamales. I love corn chips. I love everything made from grits, okay? I mean, not grits, corn. And corn is a food from the Americas. It's a sacred food of Native Americans. White people wouldn't have survived on this land without the help of Native people, and Africans would not have survived on this land without the help of Native people. Natives and Africans definitely worked together and they fought together. Okay, I come from that legacy in Florida. You know, St. Augustine, Florida has a very strong history of fighting back. Florida in general has a very strong Afro-Indigenous history and of fighting back against the U.S. government, okay, and fighting military wars. Florida has a different history than the rest of the Americas. Now you have a lot of crazy people in Florida, but that's not the legacy of Florida and black people in Florida and Afro-Indigenous people in Florida, okay? But for me, I feel like with black people, and I put that in quotes because I don't know a black American who doesn't have Native blood, okay? Every black American I know has Native blood. I don't care if they're from Michigan, if they're from Texas, if they're from North Carolina, if they're from Virginia, if they're from Pennsylvania or Florida or Mississippi. Every black person I know in the U.S. has Native blood. And if you're listening to this and you know that, state your tribe, okay? We don't even know where we come from in Africa. It's probably a bunch of different tribes, but there's no way to know. The genetic tests aren't accurate. We know we have African ancestry as well, but we don't even know what tribe. We don't live on that land. We live on this land. And I have other videos where I talk about how much it pisses me off that people overlook and disrespect Native Americans, okay? And Native Americans are not just the people on the reservations. Native Americans are also a lot of black people. There are a lot of black people who have more Native blood than African blood. And you can see that when we look at so many people like Pam Grier. Pam Grier looks straight Cherokee. Shaka Khan looks straight Cherokee. Rosa Parks looks straight Cherokee. And I could keep going on and on and on. There's some people who identify as black who look more Native American than they do African. Celia Cruz, she's from Cuba, but she looks straight Arawak Taino. Okay? So this history that we've been taught is all wrong. And there's so many so-called conscious black people, right, who want to go on about what's going on with the black man and Black Lives Matter and da-da-da-da-da. But when it comes to Native Americans, they just dismiss it. Oh, it's not important. Oh, they already got their reparations. Because even in a conversation of reparations, I feel like as black people, our argument is stronger when we acknowledge our African ancestors were enslaved and brought here against their will and stripped down and worked for free for hundreds of years. The same thing happened with our Native ancestors. They teach the history like it's two different things. They teach the history like, you know, when you learn history, black history, you learn what happened to black people during the 1700s and the 1600s and the 1500s and the 1800s. Well, what was happening to Native Americans during that same time? How they left out the story. So then you have to read a book of Native American history to find out what happened to Native Americans in the 14, 15, 16, 17, 1800s. Why isn't it intertwined in the same story? Okay, why is it that we have to go to two different places? Okay, why is it that when we watch movies about slavery, you don't see Native Americans? When you watch movies about the Civil War, anything, it's all black and white. Okay, Native Americans have been made into this invisible people, and they're still here. We're still here. Okay, Native Americans have been miscategorized. You know what? I have a book that I wanted to show. Darn it, I didn't bring it over here, and I'm not going to get up so I'll do another video soon about this because I have books on Black and Native history, okay? There's a book called Black Indians by William Loren Katz, and he's a friend of my dad's. So I remember seeing this book on the shelf growing up, and I didn't read it till I was grown, and it talks about the unacknowledged history of Africans and Native Americans in this country, and there are several books written on that. And I'll put a list of some of them below on my YouTube page, and also some videos where scholars talk about all the miscategorization. So if you're supposed to be a conscious black person, and then you go on by what the white man said and what he categorized in his version of history, which we know is all incorrect, okay? And when it comes to black people, there are no black people. If they made a holiday out of slaughtering Emmett Till, okay? If they called Emmett Till Day, let's call it Thanksgiving, because we brutalized that nigger. Or what if Emmett Till and a whole bunch of hangings of black men and women, because they hung us, a lot, and they celebrated that. What if that was Thanksgiving? The celebration of hanging black people from trees and torturing Emmett Till and every other black person they did. And they said, okay, let's make that a holiday. And we're going to say, would you be okay with that? Black people would be pissed the fuck off, and they wouldn't go for it. But because it's Native Americans, and people can be selfish, you see it as, oh, well, that's not my, even though you do have Native blood, though. And even if you didn't, you should still give a fuck. Because even white people should care. Because white people who are like, oh, but that story's so sad and it's too much. If you think it's sad for you, how do you think it was for the people who went through it? People can be so selfish. People can be cowardly when it comes to walking in the truth and doing what's right. People love to be followers and to do what is comfortable. Now, I say that, and as I say that, I'm going to say, like, my own family celebrates it. I was conflicted with even going back to New York, not because of COVID. I'm not worried about that. I've been flying back and forth between New York and Chicago like 2 or 3 times a month since March. I'm fine. My family's fine. I'm not worried about that. But I just felt like I'm just not with it. Now, the thing is, I look at it as a time, to like Thanksgiving and Christmas, to cook with my mother, right? To remember my family recipes, okay? Because family recipes are something that you have to remember in your heart and your soul. They're not things that you can write down. But at the same time, I can have a feast with them anytime. I see my parents, I see my family all the time. It doesn't have to be now. And Christmas is coming up, and I don't mind celebrating Christmas because I'm not Christian, but Christmas has nothing, Christmas has nothing to do with Christianity. It's a celebration of the solstice. It's a pagan goddess tradition, so I love that. So, but we can create our own traditions. You know what I'm saying? We can create our own traditions. And I feel like it's hypocritical when black people act like they don't care. Oh, it's just about the food for me. Oh, I'm just doing this so I can be with my family because the only time we have off, those are cop-outs. And it's hypocritical. Because at the same time, when you want everybody to care about black lives and Black Lives Matter and, oh, they're doing this, the police is doing this to us. Imagine if you knew that 100 years from now, 150 years from now, that the history textbooks would say that black people were attacking the police. Black people were acting like straight hoodlums. Black people were killing themselves, killing each other, shooting up the hood for no damn reason. They just had issues and they were attacking the police, and there was a war between the police and black people, and that's why the black people got killed. And you know that's not the truth. And then people perpetuate that for hundreds of years. How would you feel? Like, to me, I'm a shapeshifter. I feel like I can go back in time, put myself in people's shoes, think about the people who came before me, what they endured. And then sometimes I feel like, how dare I? How dare I not have gratitude for where I am and for what they've done? How dare I not have empathy for the horrible things? Okay, so I wanted to do a quick video because I didn't get into, I didn't take notes about writing down all the points about the history of Thanksgiving. I suggest that you take this day and days forward to look that history up. I listened to like 4 videos this morning that all had different pieces of the history, okay? Because, Lincoln tried to make it a holiday during the Civil War in 1863 as a time to bring a nation together. The Civil War. The Civil War was the bloodiest war this country ever saw, okay? Bloody, okay? It wasn't a jovial time. Then the original Thanksgiving, that Washington tried to put into play, the Thanksgiving Proclamation, Native Americans weren't written into it. And this is like the day after a massacre or something. They didn't even include Native Americans. So the first original Thanksgiving, or whatever, Native Americans weren't included. So I'm not going to, like I said, getting into all the years and everything, because this is the overall point that I wanted to make. So I suggest you go look at the history. But I feel like a lot of people have ignorance to history. A lot of people are selfish. A lot of people would rather just go along with what's easy and are not strong enough to stand up and say, this is wrong, this is crazy. How the fuck are we celebrating a massacre? Okay, how? And then as black people want to keep complaining about the injustices, we've still had the first black president, the first, black vice president, the first black a lot of things. Have we had any Native American presidents? You don't see Native Americans, and this is their land. That's wild disrespectful. So I'm about being respectful for whatever land that I'm on. You know what I'm saying? And because my ancestors were buried in this land for as far back as I can trace, okay? I know I have African ancestry too, but we have no connection to that. My connection is to this land. And this is, I live in this land, I thrive in this land. So, and I have red ancestors from this land, so I'm not going to just dismiss them in that. There was something else. I'm trying to make sure I say everything that I wanted to say about this. And so, you know, in the years prior when I did celebrate the holiday with my parents since I've been grown and my family, I would set aside a plate, okay? A plate for the ancestors. But, you know, this year I said, no, I'm going to chill, focus on other things. Christmas is coming. For Christmas, I will cook a lot of food with my mom, okay? I'm not about it this year. I really feel like it's, you know, I don't want to feel the pressure of the bullshit, you know? And I feel like it's a good day just to spend time, you know, learning history and acknowledging that, you know? And so not trying to guilt trip those of you who are having Thanksgiving, which I'm sure most of you who are watching this are, but I would say at least be mindful of those things. You know what I'm saying? And if you're somebody who is like, I'm strong enough to change the narrative and create my own traditions, then please go ahead. Because we need, well, I can't say we need, some of us, okay, I think that we need to decolonize our minds. Some people might be fine being a colonial mindset, but I feel like if you're somebody who really is always speaking up about decolonization, if you're someone who speaks against, you know, people taking over people's shit, if you're somebody who's so into Black history, then you need to be into this too and acknowledge the shit and stop just brushing it under the rug and going along with this white man's version of history that is bullshit, okay? Yeah, this is a day of mourning for a lot of Indians. It's a genocide day. There was a huge massacre. And again, Thanksgiving was not even, when the true history of it is an amalgamation of various stories. It's not one event. It's not one event that happened, but overall, it was never a celebration of a feast. It was a celebration of a massacre, okay? A massacre of women and children sleeping, you know, at night and getting slaughtered. Also, Native Americans were also enslaved. And during the slave trade, many Native Americans were shipped to Europe and to the Caribbean as slaves, okay? So there were a lot of Native Americans from New England who were shipped to the Caribbean. There were a lot of Native Americans from South Carolina who were shipped to the Caribbean. There were a lot of Native Americans from the coast that were shipped to Europe, okay? They don't tell us that when they talk about the slave trade. And I have books, 2 books, that won Bancroft Awards that go into depth about that. And if I was thinking straight, I would have had them right next to me so I could show you while I'm doing this video. But instead, I will write the titles of them below on my YouTube page. So I think that I'm mad that I missed the gym. I got to work out on my pole this morning, but I really wanted to get to the gym. But the gym closed at 2 today, so. But if you learned something from this video, please like it, please share it. And let me know your thoughts, okay? So I'm hoping I said everything because there was so many things I wanted to say, and every time I get in front of the camera, I forget things that I meant to say. But I think I said enough. I think you guys get the point. I would love to know, those of you who create new traditions, what are they? You know, just what are your thoughts? You know, are you, I don't know. I just wanted to put my 2 cents out there because that's what I do. All right, so have a good day regardless of what you're doing. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say, being thankful, right? I'm always thankful, and I'm not even saying that to be cute. Every single day of my life, I give thanks. When I start to feel slightly down about something, right? Like maybe there's something I want that I don't have, or having an issue with a person or an issue in life, I always think about how shit could be worse. I think about the things my ancestors went through and how shit could be so much worse, and what they went through is so much more difficult. So that helps me stay in a point of gratitude, okay? Because no matter how tough things are for me right now, I still have the potential to do more. You know, I'm not as restricted as my ancestors might have been. At the same time, I have a mindset of decolonization, decolonizing my mind. I believe in traditional ways and traditional cosmology, traditional foods. So as a nutritionist, if you look at any of my videos on nutrition, I talk a lot about traditional foods, okay? This is the reason why I will never be a vegan, and I eat pork, and I eat corn. These are traditional foods. And traditional foods have shown to raise strong, healthy people, humans that live a long time with superb health for hundreds of years. And this is something I've been studying for the past at least 17 years, okay? In depth, okay? So this is something that I stand firmly on. And if you want to debate this with me, catch up with my research, okay? Because a lot of people want to go back and forth and they haven't done 20% of the research I've done on this topic. Okay, so traditional foods and traditional methods when it comes to caring for the land, even when you see in California shit burning, the indigenous people that come from California know how to deal with that. They did burnings, they burnt things themselves ever so often to maintain the land, so it didn't get out of control. There's a science behind fire. Now, people would learn a lot that they spoke to the native people who are from that land, and the shit wouldn't be so bad, okay? And so, to me, you know, and as black people, it's like you love them with the white man telling you and doing so much. This day has nothing to do with giving thanks. You don't need this day to give thanks or to have a good meal with your family. You can do that anytime. And, like, Native Americans were some of the most connected people to the earth. And they live in a state of gratitude and give thanks. Even when they take herbs to use medicinally, they give thanks. They're constantly giving thanks in a state of gratitude. And this world would be a better place if more people could follow the peaceful and very respectful and mindful and conscious ways of indigenous people from this land. The United States, America, Turtle Island is a special place, okay? It's a special place. People from all over the, no matter what people want to say, people from all over the world flock here, okay? Flock here so much that I feel like it's to the detriment of Afro-Indigenous people, okay? But people flock here, but then they have so much to say about this country, but this is one of the few countries where you could be an outsider, okay, and come and have some high position in government or have some high position in the hospital or any other thing. If you immigrate to most other countries, they're not going to put you in their top positions, okay? There are a lot of other countries where you're born poor, you're going to stay poor. There's no chance for getting out of that situation. There are a lot of opportunities in the U.S., and the U.S. Has its problems, but every country does. I just know that this is where my ancestors are buried. This is the land that I care about. So I'm not one to just run to another country because shit gets tough. I'm going to fight it out. That's what I come from. That's the legacy of Afro-Indigenous people in Florida in particular, right? So that's in my bloodline. So I had no choice but to speak on this issue today, because a lot of times I'm just quiet, but I'm like, nah, I'm gonna speak my piece because it might touch some people, it might wake some people up, you know, it might encourage some people to go really look at the history. And when you do, don't just look at one source, don't just look at one video, look at several of them, okay? Because you're gonna get different pieces of the history. There are many different components to this so-called Thanksgiving fraud, this massacre, this bullshit, okay? So, and I feel like as black people, if you truly want to be liberated and you want us to be treated properly and you want people to care about black people, you got to care about Native people too. You can't, that's selfish, you know, and it really pisses me off with black people who just undermine Native American. Well, Native Americans, they got the reparations. They don't need, are you fucking kidding me? Native Americans on reservations live worse than anybody. They live worse than the poorest black people, okay? And like I said, Native Americans aren't just on reservations. And the same way with Africans, our history has been twisted and rewritten and beaten out of us. The same thing has happened to indigenous people. And they're the only people who are invisible on their own land, completely invisible. But yet, so many places in the U.S. are named after Native Americans. Chicago, the very city I live in right now, which I love that name, Chicago. It's a beautiful name. It's a Native American name. Milwaukee, Native American name. Mississippi, Native American. Massachusetts, okay? These are all Native American names, and they're all over the country. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Tallahassee. I mean, like every single state you go to, there's a bunch of Native American names for towns, for lakes, and for states. A lot of the states. I think Iowa also might be a native name, okay? Tennessee. So this like brushing away of Native Americans as if they're like some invisible, unimportant, extinct people is disrespectful. And I don't feel like black people will ever truly gain what that we seek on this land as long as we do that, because it's also in our bloodline, number one. And even if it wasn't in our bloodline, we should still give a fuck, number two. Okay? Now, this snake, everything is symbolic and everything is connected, right? So people use snakes a lot as, you know, oh, somebody's a snake, like as this person is a bad person, right? But snakes are really symbols of wisdom, resurrection, rebirth, okay? So again, a lot of shit we're told is wrong. People want to condemn snakes because they're connected to a divine feminine, but they're connected to being woke. They're connected to shedding your skin, okay? Shedding your skin and being reborn into a new thing. They're symbols of enlightenment, sexual energy, okay? And that's the other thing I wanted to say. When we talk about decolonizing minds and bodies, if you watch my work and me dancing in a bikini or me feeling comfortable posing nude or whatever, it's like before our people were colonized, that is the state we were in. Africans and any indigenous people in the world that come from hot places, whether it be Southeast Asia, whether it be the Caribbean islands, and whether it be the Hawaiian Islands, whether it be the American South. Of course, Native Americans in Canada weren't walking around naked, but where it was hot, we were. We needed to get the sun in our skin to get vitamin D. All Native Americans don't look alike. Native Americans who come from hotter places have browner skin. You go to Cuba, you see indigenous people, and they are dark, but they are red. It's also why I hate the term black and brown people. What the fuck is that? Indigenous people are red, okay? That's their red skin and undertone, okay? And so-called black people in America are usually brown, but they have real black people in Cuba and Colombia who are literally the color black, right? So let's just call it what it is. Native people never call themselves brown, okay? So let's not start miscategorizing, all right? So let's acknowledge indigenous people. So when it comes to that, I know that it was the colonists, and again, I always say I wasn't born religious. A lot of this shit is tied to religious bullshit as well. But the colonists came with that patriarchal religious bullshit, wanting to colonize our minds, colonize our bodies too, brought violence, beat that into us. So for me, I'm a grown-ass woman. I'm thankful to live in a country where I'm not going to get hung because I decided to show my skin, or I decided to dance in a bikini, or, you know, any of that stuff. But at the same time, that's still criticized and penalized a lot. You see people like, oh, these girls rapping, oh, it's they gotta show their body. Oh, girls over here feeling like they gotta twerk on the internet. That's what the fuck we were doing before we were colonized. When you talk like that, you sound like a colonizer. You sound just like them. If you look at the primary documents of what colonizers wrote when they came to the Americas, when they came to Africa, they condemned our bodies. Okay, they wanted us to cover up because they believed it was indecent. That was their religious patriarchal bullshit. And so now you could be somebody who claims to be woke and claims not to ascribe to that patriarchal bullshit. Colonial bullshit. One and the same. You might claim to be about the liberation of black people, but then you over here criticizing the girl who's twerking and shaking her ass or half naked or whatever. Because if you think that it's okay to disrespect a woman because she's shaking her ass, or you think it's okay to disrespect a woman because she's half naked or butt-ass naked, that shows that you're fucked up and you have a colonial mindset. That poison is in your mind. Because indigenous thinking, pre-colonial thinking, no man felt like he had the right to put his hand on a woman just because she was walking by naked. Just because he saw some nipples. Nobody was tripping on that shit, okay? Nipples have they're divine vortexes. But if you saw them all the time, they wouldn't be so, oh my God, nipples. You know what I'm saying? Shit is interconnected. And I know what I'm here for. And a lot of it is bringing back the truths of the past. And my ancestors, I walk in that. Everything I do, I think about that. And I consider that daily. So every single thing people see me doing, whether it's talking or whether it's me as an artist, that is in mind. Okay? So that's why nobody's criticisms is ever going to stop me from being who I am, because I know what I'm here for. And I'm strong enough to walk in that path. It's not easy. You know, it's just much easier to go along with the get along, with the go along to get along. It's easier to do that. But that's just not me. And so for those who care about learning more, care about elevating, care about enlightenment, care about the truth, do your due diligence and learn the history. Think for yourself. And if you feel inspired enough to create new traditions, please do so. All right, so I'm gonna let this go right here. If you are on YouTube and you do not follow me on IG, you can follow me at the_Renaissance_Amazon_81. And if you are on IG and don't follow me on YouTube, you can follow me at the Renaissance Amazon, okay? If you like this video, please like it and share it, leave your comments, and have a great day. Bye.